sent it to the library, a PowerPoint. Go 411.org is supposed to be on this screen. But I will tell you about Vote 411.org. It is a website where our league has paid $200 to go to pose questions for candidates to answer on that website in their own words. It will go live, and there are all sorts of things about voting that you can find on that website. It's a wonderful website. And we will go live with the candidates' answers on April the 9th. You guys should answer them because your opponents might beat you to it.
And we will begin with a brief introduction from the candidates, a little bit just about who they are, whatever they want to say about themselves at this point, and give us a little bit. It's not much because it's only 1 minute. So I'll start this one with Brendan Kern. Brendan, will you be first on this, please?
Thank you. Is this on okay?
No. Press the little button and move it, scoot it.
I found it. Oh, goodness. No, so.
Yep, no, it's on.
Is it on? Okay. I'm Brendan Kearns. I'm running for County Commissioner. I serve on the County Council now. I'm big on transparencies. I have to share something with you. I had a bad seafood sandwich this afternoon, and the seafood isn't as fresh as what I get out of the Wabash River, so I'm a little off my game right now. Crystal gave me some medicine to help me out, but just if you think I'm off a little bit, I am. I don't feel good. But I am running for County Commissioner. I was recently asked why I am going from County Council seeking the position. Well, because there's an opportunity for one thing. There's a vacancy for District 1, and I feel that with the goals that I have for Vigo County, that's a position that's better suited for me. Thanks.
Go on to William Verdine.
My name's Bill Verdine. Lived in Terre Haute my whole life. I've been married over 40 years. We have 3 kids, and they all live outside of Vigo County. I was the legislative chairman for the union for 19 years. Even though I worked on the Railroad 43, the last 19 I worked at the State House. Did all the health and safety issues in the state of Indiana. Worked with Washington, D.C. to rebuild passenger and freight locomotives. And we also need to understand one thing. Everything I did was grade crossings and trains, and we have a problem in Terre Haute with trains. Everybody well understands that. So hopefully we can work with somebody to understand that trains are getting longer, and we need to do something to make sure that people our age, when you live on one side of the tracks, you get to the hospital on the other side. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Jean.
Jane Santucci Bryant. You'll see, you probably know me as Jane Santucci, but on the ballot you'll see Jane Santucci Bryant. That's my married name, Brian, right there. About the trains, there's an INDOT funding right now to help with the overpasses, so check that out.
130 folks.
So my name is Jane Santucci Bryant. I'm running for County Council District 1 against Tim. I love how they pair us up next to each other. No tension. First of all, thank you very much to League of Women Voters for hosting this. It's also incredible to see how many people who are here tonight. We all just must have known that we were going to be in the basements, we were going to be safe. But anyways, I work every day to improve our community. I moved here to take a job at WTHI, worked for an attorney for 5 years, then I went off on my own to pretty much spend my days improving Vigo County, making a lot less than all the other jobs. But anyways, I love what I do, and I love working with each and every one of you.
Tim Curran.
Tim Curley here. I'm the incumbent County Council District 1, which includes Otter Creek, Evans, and Walls Creek Township, and just a little part of the city. I'm running for re-election. Just tell you a little bit about me. I've been married for going on 25 years with my lovely wife, and my son and daughter both in college, one at ISU, one at DePaul. I run for County Council because I like to do what's best for the county, since I've been on, as well as Bill Thomas. The county has a surplus of close to $19 million in the general fund. We're very frugal, and we do what's best for the taxpayer.
Bill Thomas.
Good evening. Thank you all for showing up in this terrible weather. My name is Bill Thomas. I am a two-term Vigo County District 2 councilman, twice past president. I was the president in 13 and last year in 17. The council, or the county right now is in pretty good shape fiscally, but with revenue shortfalls coming up that we all are aware of with property tax assessments, property tax caps, all this. I think that I can bring my experience and ability to work with others to really benefit this county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael Esau.
My name is Michael Esau. I'm running for Vigo County Council in District 3. Little history. Graduated from University of North Carolina. Served in the Army for a couple of years. Was a rod buster. That's an iron worker for those who don't know. For about 5 years, and then I got an opportunity to work as an air traffic controller for the Federal Aviation Administration for the last 35 years. Just retired in July. I'm married, 2 grown children, 2 granddaughters that attend school here in Vigo County. The reason I'm running, I think I bring a lot of my union leadership experience and as an air traffic controller making decisions and having to collaborate with people on hard problems. We have a lot of concerns. I think we need to change the direction in Terre Haute, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
And Vicki.
I'm Vicki Baker. I am a native of Vigo County, and I've been working hard for this community for longer than most of you have been born, probably all put together. That's because I'm old. My first political experience, I worked for Birch Bayh when he ran for legislature, then for senator, then I worked for Larry Conrad, the Secretary of State. I was a legislative assistant in the State House and helped pass the law that established the merit system for the Terre Haute Police Department. I was a communication worker and received the Labor Day Award from the Wabash Valley Central Building and Construction Trades Council. Then I went to work full-time as a journalist, which is what I studied to be. I worked at WTHI as the managing editor, and along with Kathy Sponsler and Patrice Dayton and Mark Allen and Kevin Orford and Mike King and Mike Latta, we turned that rascal into a barn burner so I can get things done.
Thank you to the candidates. I do have word that David Hoopengarner could not be here because his basement is flooded. So he did send word, the other 2 gentlemen I believe that are missing, but he did send word that he would not be able to be here. We have a lot of questions, as you might expect, about the jail. So we might just as well start with those questions. And I think maybe the best way is, how do you think the overcrowding, the problem of the jail, should be solved? There are a lot of different ideas on this, lots of different perspectives on the jail issue. So we'll start, and we start with you. This will be Bill Burdine. You will start by answering this question, and answer it from whatever perspective you see, because this is a very broad issue, and there are many different aspects to it. So if you will, please address it from your perspective.
And how much time?
6 minutes.
Well, I think since this is a pretty big issue, that at least 2 minutes each.
Okay.
You know, we've got a lot of questions to get through also.
You know, this is one of the reasons why we're all here, the jail. The jail's been going on. I saw a letter from the commissioner who was running in 2009, Mike Steele. 2009, the top issue on his letter was, we need to do something about the jail. Now think about that. That's 10 years ago. Really, because it was going on before 2009. Why are we still here? With that being said, I tell people every day, if you want to talk to somebody in the rail industry that's considered an expert, that's me. There's people in the Midwest know stuff about railroading, but very few know more than I do. I've done it for 43 years running trains 10,000 foot long, 60 mile an hour in a fog. I get it. But when you go to another expert, why is that guy always down the street? You have experts like Marble, John Marble, Greg Ewing, Bill Harris, Ray Watts, Mike Seal. They all spent 35 years in the criminal justice system. And this community thought that we needed to do a study. Now we're doing a study. We want to find out what that study says. We hired people to do a study to help us understand how many beds we need, what we need to do, and how we're going to do it. I don't think it's fair to the people doing the study to come in here and say, hey, you're wrong. When they come back to us with a study, all of us in this room need to stand up and say, okay, we're going to go do that. Drive the freaking stake in the ground and let's move forward. Because we've got schools, we've got county police stations, we've got the convention center, and we had an issue where a lot of people didn't like the casino. Fine, I don't care, but if we don't do something, we're going to be stagnant, and we're going to continue to stay stagnant.
Thank you, Bill.
Are we going this way?
Yes.
Oh.
Come this direction.
Starting off the biggest question first. So kind of like what Bill said is that we're stagnant, look where we are, and we're stuck with the situation that we're in. But it's kind of like, look at your house. If you have a broken window and then the rain starts coming in, what do? You go ahead and you fix that broken window when the window's broken. So why have we can't go back and change the past, stuff's broken, but why did we allow the jail to get in the condition that it's in today? Why? I'm just as guilty as a lot of people out there that I didn't question the conditions of the jail. I mean, I don't take down the cinder block walls or any drywall to figure out what was going wrong, but we should have been dealing with these problems the entire time. But the question goes way beyond the infrastructure of the jail. It goes with some of the systemic problems that we have in our community that we need to address, of why we are arresting so many people and the reasons that we are arresting them, and why do the people in our community have these problems. And let's start dealing with those problems so then we can lower our cost of the amount of, lower the cost that the inmates have for being housed in the jail. So this is a huge problem of poverty, injustice, financial problems. I mean, this is just a huge problem, but we need to start doing a better job of being aware of what's going on in our community. And by seeing the crowd here tonight, we are waking up. So that keeps me hopeful and is really one of the reasons I'm sitting in this chair tonight.
First, I'd like to say that I was a Terre Haute City police officer for 24 years. I saw the problem firsthand, but when politics gets involved, there's many issues involved, from the prosecutor's office to the public defender's office to community corrections, to the judges, the whole ball of wax. It all needs to come down to the point where we all work together. And I've been in meetings and have called meetings. We all work together. Why is there an inmate in a jail for 200 days? Why is there an inmate in the jail for 350 days? And to work together. I think this assessment study was needed. The public wanted it. We needed it. I believe I know what the problem is, but I'm only one voice. So we are doing a study. And like Bill just stated, whatever that study comes out, that's how we need to move forward as a taxpayer and office holders to make this right.
Well, I wish I had the magic answer. I have my opinions. I know that in 2017, I was the president of this county council, and it was probably one of the rockiest years that we have faced. But after a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings, talking with the public, we have initiated this study. And I think what we're going to find, as at least a large part of this that's creating this jail overcrowding, is the issues that pertain to our addiction problem and our mental illness issues. So I truly believe that if we can implement programs on the front side of this and keep this from being generational and keep from having the same folks back and back and back, I think that's going to really eliminate some of this jail overcrowding. This council has worked very hard to, we put some demands forward to make sure that we're doing the right study. And I believe that we have signed up with a great firm that will bring us back some good results. And I'm hoping that when the results come back that we can all agree to move forward and to get the problem resolved. Thank you.
This is probably what led me to run for this office. The more I got involved, what we needed was a criminal justice reform assessment. Jail is just one part of our criminal justice system, although it's the most expensive part, and it's a sign of how your criminal justice system is working, and ours needs reform. So we went to the forum where RJS, the Bill mentioned, they're the ones doing the assessment. They've probably got 150 years of experience between the three of them, Susan Edwards, Dr. Ray, and Dr. Beck, doing this sort of work for communities just like ours. They asked us two questions. Do we need a new jail? And is the current jail overcrowded? Well, the answer is back on needing a new jail. It violates civil rights, doesn't meet the requirements of the law anymore. So we're going to have a new facility. There's no question about that. So what we need is the right facility. And I stand with Bill and a couple other people here that when these assessments come through, they're going to make recommendations on how to reduce overcrowding. Their other answer was under current conditions, the way we do things now, the jail is overcrowded. However, they're getting empirical data and they're going to review it. And then they're going to make recommendations. Some of them are going to be it's cheaper and better for the community to have a diversion program for drug and mental illness issues. Right now, we don't have a mental program in Vigo County. It's kind of shocking. Also, I don't know if anyone's aware of it, but Criminal Rule 26 and other things that allow people, first-time offenders, low offense, non-violent, no risk of fleeing, they should be out on their own recognizance within 4 hours. Now, that's my opinion. That's one of the recommendations I hope that they make. But anyway, I look forward to reviewing the assessment, and I will stand to collaborate with everybody to back it 100%.
Well, I think everybody's pretty well in agreement that the assessment folks who came in were well chosen, and they are good at what they do. They've been very forthcoming in telling us information immediately. They had a big meeting up at, Dr. Ray had a meeting up in North Vigo a week ago, and shared information. I did want to, Jane, tell you one thing. Why didn't they fix the jail? I worked here for the television station when John Marble was the sheriff and went to the council and asked for money to fix the jail. And we didn't have the money to fix the jail. That was a long time ago. We did not have the money, and it was downhill from there. They've been cutting back. We cut back, because when they put the property tax caps in, it's up to the council to raise taxes. Nobody wants their taxes up, but since that time, our tax income is down 3% in this county because of assessed valuation and other things. People leaving the county because they don't have jobs, because there's no hope to find something hopeful here. You know, and I think after we accept that study that they provide, we should all start treating each other like human beings and be nice to each other and be helpful and cooperative and considerate. I've been walking precincts and people are sick to death of the negativity. And I guarantee you sit on this council, you'll be sick of it too. That's it.
I thank you all very much for addressing this issue. Our next question. I'm sorry, Brandon. You haven't called me.
If I recall the question correctly, it was how do we deal with this overcrowding issue? Well, the short and quick is you build the biggest jail you possibly can, and you're going to fill it because there's plenty of people to fill it with, unfortunately, because we don't have the programs necessary to keep the people out of jail. I'm pretty outspoken about the jail process. That's no secret to most people in here. My concern was this: lack of transparency, lack of involvement with the people in this room. Nobody in here was brought to the table when this, came up. I ran for office based off of it. It concerned me. I was elected, and now I have a seat at the table. Unfortunately, I was never included in those committee meetings to discuss the future of this project, and I understand why. We need to invest in our mental health facilities. We need to do something about the homeless people. There's a couple people that I take care of. I went to check on one last week. I can't find him. Do you know where he is? He's in jail. Because it's easier. It got cold out. You get hurt. You hurt somebody. You get thrown in jail so you got meals to eat. That's the problem here. Do we build a bigger jail? Sure, why not? Can we afford it? Absolutely not. If we improve that 1% local income tax, look all the money would have been taken out of our pockets in this room alone. Sony eliminates $16 million in annual payroll. 1% of that's $164,000. That bond payment could not be made, folks. If that was passed to build an $80 million jail, today we would not have the money to do it. We're running for commissioner because I want to focus on investing in mental health issues, in substance abuse issues. It hits my family directly. I've seen the impact of the drug court and these programs and how they can help out people. All of you in here, I'm sure, has the same story. We need to invest in our quality of place, make this a better community. Yes, we need to build a new jail, unfortunately. Let's build one that we can afford, not the one that we want.
Thank you. Our next question sort of follows. There are 3 questions I received here that I think we can maybe address as one issue. The first one had to do with the fact that the recent census is showing that we are losing people, we are not gaining people. That is a part of the problem. How can we make Vigo County a place people want to live? And some of them even going into the idea of cleanliness, accountability of different governing agencies. So I guess the thing is, what do you see as a way that we can keep and attract more people who want to live in our community, making this a better place for people to live? And I'll give you about 2 minutes on this, because it covers basically 3 separate issues, but they're all part of what do we do to keep and attract people to our community.
Thank you. Did you pick this one because I keep Terrell beautiful? Anyways, I want to go back to when Vicki mentioned my name real quickly about, John was taking care of some of the maintenance issues on the jail. Even when I was a reporter, I remember covering, the jail being dilapidated. So it's been going on probably way before John. So I'm going to call my bad on being a reporter and not knowing what I know today and what I could have done. But let's go back on losing people, how to make this a better place to live, beautification. Right now we're spending our money on just maintenance or just repaving a road. We all love new roads, but we have to start doing things differently or that other communities are doing. We can give all these tax abatements, these incentives, and install these sewer lines, yada, 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 but all the other communities are offering that as well. So what are we going to offer that is going to be different or special and clean that other communities, that we can just do better than our surrounding communities? We have to have complete streets. Stop it with, we're gonna repave a road, put 12 inches of new asphalt on. Well, we're not gonna have bike lane. No, why would we do that? We have got to do what people, when you go to different cities that are thriving, they have complete streets. And that means having a bike lane, and that means having a place. I've been documenting for 2 years up on Lafayette Avenue how people are forced to walk in the road because of the way they walk to and from work, what I call fast food row. So Lafayette Avenue needs to become a complete street. They need a safe way to get to and from work. But then there's also, we could just talk about this forever. When people get on and off the exit ramps from I-70, what do they see? Trash. Tractor trailers parked on the side of the road, dumping trash. People throw trash everywhere. We need to be, nobody wants to be that hard person and say you're not doing your job. But we have got to start holding our officials accountable. I'm being told to stop. I love this topic so much. The next cleanup is Memphis.
Are you sure you're done?
No, I'm not.
Do you want my time? No, you're my opponent. No, I think what it all boils down to is image. Terrell Vigo County has to have a better image. When a company wants to locate here and they talk to the commissioners and the county council and economic development, and they're wanting us to throw them a carrot, no tax abatements or $500,000 out of our economic development to build a rail spur, what do they look at? They look at our schools. Right now, what just happened? FBI investigation, big raid. What would a company think about that? And then they turn around, they look again, and they Terre Haute wastewater treatment plant. FBI investigation. So don't you think these companies are scratching their head thinking, what's going on here? So, and the schools are wanting to remodel the high schools. I mean, the public can only take so much from the taxpayer. We have to have an even kill here, and the bottom line is, it's all about image for Terre Haute Vigo County.
No.
I'll agree right off the bat with Councilman Curley. We have to improve our image. And I think the way you do that, it takes the whole community. We have to be able to provide a good economy. We have to provide excellent schools. Our parks and arts needs to be, so they have a place and something to do after 5 o'clock. We have to have good infrastructure, and we have to have good public safety. And we can achieve that by working together. If we can start, if the city can get along with the county and the commissioners can get along with the council and what have you, it's going to take everybody in a collaborative effort to try to build some of these things. We have a lot going for us here. We have a great rail system, okay? We have a good interstate system. We have great colleges and high schools. We have a very underutilized airport. So when we can figure out as a community, it's not just on the council, the city council, the county council, it's not just on the mayor, it's not just on the commissioners, it's on all of us. We have to work together as one unit with one common goal. But I think if we can put all of that together, we have been second and third. We've been the bridesmaid a lot of times to a lot of these big companies, but never the bride. In talking with our economic development people, my suggestion is, hey, if we're second, how did we get beat? What did we do wrong that they did right? So I think once we figure that out, and believe me, we're working that direction. We have a new company that's wanting to come in at the old Kellogg's plant. It's going to employ a couple hundred people, and you know, it's all great. Yes, Ron, I understand.
Start with what's right with the community. We're River Town. Riverscapes is developing along the Wabash River. We can all get involved in that. That's going to attract people here. That's going to make us a place to go to, not leave from. We have 3 top-tier colleges that are in the top 10 in the categories that they're in. And then we also have Ivy Tech and Harrison Business College. And in addition, the cost of living here is reasonable. And as a couple of people alluded to, you give people all the tax rebates you want. If you drive around town, where I live, in about 1 out of every 9 or 10 houses is dilapidated, condemned, abandoned, or empty. They're not going to bring their employees to live in this town unless we can improve our quality of life and our quality of place. And it's going to take everybody pitching in, somebody stepping up and having a vision about where we're going to, making a plan, funding the plan, and then execute the plan. It sounds simple, but of course we all know it's complicated because there's going to be personalities involved. Anyway, I hope I'm a part of that, and I think as a member of the council, it would be an important part, because guess who raises the funds and approves the budgets? The council does. Anyway, that's my vision. I'm here to stay. My granddaughters are here. I hope they're going to be here to stay too. I want to make Terre Haute a destination, not an exit.
Okay.
Well, I think if you think about image, you know, to me the word imagination comes up. What can we imagine this place to be? What do we think we are now? I had lunch yesterday with a couple of kids from South Vigo, juniors. They've been on spring break, they've been to Florida, and I had to come back to Terre Haute and going to college. They asked, where are you going to college? Someplace else. Any place but here. Any place but here. You know, and that's the way we kind of think about and talk about ourselves. You know, there's so much here. We're the crossroads of America. When Amazon announced they were going to build a Midwest plant, I thought, why not Terre Haute? I got we're the crossroads of America. We got institutions of higher learning here that are rock and roll good. We're close to Indianapolis Airport, I-70, 465, 65, 41. We've got so much to offer. We might even see if we can get the Army Corps of Engineers to dredge the Wabash River. How would that be? We could have a port in Terre Haute. Why not? Let's just imagine we can do it and see if we can. I think those are the kinds of things that we have to start thinking bigger. I worked for Bill Brighton in 1979 when he was leaving office. And there was a Playboy reporter called the office late at night and said, I can't tell this story in 30 seconds and you're going to want to know the end of it. It said, Steve Martin said, Terre Haute, Indiana is nowhere USA. I said, oh yeah, well we're going to show him. And we invited him back. We put on a big farce for him to go see the Shuffle Inn. He was so impressed. CF Industries, where they make ammonia fertilizer. BZ Jones Tractor and Implements. He had a blast. We had 300 employees, 300 reporters, and it was all over national television. That's the kind of stuff you can do to make people say, that's kind of a fun place.
Brandon.
I think my mic died. Is it gone now? Sorry. The light went off. I absolutely love Vigo County. I think all of you in here do too. It's a great place for seniors. It's a great place for my 5-year-old daughter, who I hope will be happy here for the next 13 years. Maybe go off to college, but have a reason to come back. In January and February, I traveled all across Indiana, presenting about the Wabash River, our success with the Wabashiki wetlands, and the program that I represent for the state. I shared stories about eagles, and I got the chills. The fact that I go to Fairbanks Park today and see eagles flying around, to me, is just incredible. What does that have to do with this? Well, it's quality of place. This is a place where people want to come because eagles bring people, if you can imagine that. The fact that there's otters show that we have a healthy environment here. This is a clean community. It's hard to say that today. We've talked about how much trash we see along the roads. That's a separate issue that needs to be addressed. Quality of place has been. Riverscape is probably the best thing that came out of the Terre Haute tomorrow. But the county commissioners pulled the funding from it. $50,000 a year was allocated towards riverscapes. That money was used to help better our community in many different ways. From a vision plan to purchasing property that was derelict to making it clean for all of us to use. I pledge as county commissioner to get that $50,000 back to them. And you know what? Let's double it. We're providing money to other agencies. We're not providing money to agencies that we can't, like the arts. The Arts Commission asked for $20,000 to help a grant where they can get almost $100,000. It was denied. There's $18 million sitting in the economic development income tax count. That money could be used for stuff like that, for quality of place. That people will notice. When they're Googling Terre Haute, Indiana, and they say, my God, look what they're doing along that Wabash River. They will come here. That money will come, and we can use that money to build overpasses over every rail line so we're not stuck like I was today for 15 minutes by train.
Oops.
Bill?
Why is that?
Just so you'll know, I was the guy, don't start yet. I was the guy that was sitting in the cab when a woman asked me one time, she was a foamer. A foamer is somebody that loves railroading. They are just ate up with railroading. And she said, "Don't you just love it when people are waving at you?" And I said, "I really love it when they use their whole hand." So let's talk about what's going on in Vigo County and what's wrong with Vigo County. Where do you guys think we rank out of 92 counties in education? 17th or 18th? Where do you think we rank for health? It's right at 90, 91. Who beats us in that category? Who's worse than us? Sullivan. I mean, we cannot continue to have an education level of 17th or 18th in the state of Indiana and not address the issue of alcohol and drugs. Where do you address it at? We all know where you have to address it at. You have to address it at the schools. You have to address it with the home. You have to go get these people, get these children to understand the end result of what you are doing, and then we don't have a jail problem. You talked about the crossroads of America. Who knows more about the crossroads of America than I do? I mean, seriously, we got interstate highway systems, but our rail system runs from Florida to Chicago. I spent 35 years running trains around Chicago. Believe me when I tell you, it's crowded. It's a cluster, and you can't get through that city. Matter of fact, the UP Railroad just bought a whole bunch of track out around there. I keep telling people that trains run from the west, run to the east. Where do they run through? Terre Haute. Why? Why? Because that's the main line. We used to have two railroads running to St. Louis. We have intermodal traffic. Believe me, folks, in the next 20 years, everything we see in the world that is happening in Indiana or the United States is going to be 20% worse. The population is going to increase by 20%. You have to do something. It's roads, bridges, rail. You have rail yards. They're going to move south, and they're going to come through Terre Haute, Indiana. We need to make sure that we pay attention to what's going on. Those are jobs. Sorry.
You already answered this question, right, Jane?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start with you. We'll do the next question. We'll with you. We'll start.
I agree.
And this is about a 1-minute question, Robbie. We've already alluded to it in some of the other discussion a little bit. It's not an easy question. Nobody's resolved it in all the years I've lived here. Do you plan to work to decrease the train traffic in Terre Haute? And how do you deal with the very long trains? That's a big issue. But it's just a 1-minute issue.
Yeah, I can start.
I think it's all about planning, working with the city and the county and the railways to make it a better issue, so when police and fire need to get through, when the grandmother needs to get to the emergency room, just better planning. Because at times, like all of us in this room, we've been stuck by a train for 15, 20, 30 minutes, and they've always got an excuse. Always got an excuse. And I've called them on numerous times as a county council member of my district when the tracks were horrible, and you'd have to call Tallahassee. And then you'd get a recording, and you'd get somebody that talked like they cared, and nothing would happen, and so you'd have to have 50 people call. So it's all about communication.
Yeah.
I think if you could figure that problem out, you would be an instant hero. I look north to Lafayette, and they had the foresight in that city to not necessarily run the trains through town, but they run them around town. I know that NDOT now has, and it just came out, there's going to be some money out there. I believe it's $125 million. I just seen the email today, so I can't answer a lot of questions about it. That's going to be for overpasses, this, that, the other, and I just hope that we can reach out for some of that money, and I promise you that being on this council, I will do, if there's match money that we need to come up with, I will be more than happy to carry the water to try to come up with some of that match money. The railroad traffic is a pain in everybody's backside, I realize that. But I think it's something that slowly but surely, if we can, we have an overpass going on Margaret, if we can get one, I'm gonna say on Fort Harrison, because that's where my office is.
Nice.
I'm not that familiar with the train situation, but Bill brought something up that I do know a little bit about. Lafayette had the vision to say, we want to take care of this. They came up with a 20-year plan. A lot of people around here go, 20 years, I haven't got time to wait for that. Well, that's what it took, and now all of a sudden, 20 years later, Lafayette does not have a train problem. They've rerouted their trains around their town. It took collaboration and cooperation between the city, the county, the state, feds for the funds. They had to put up matching funds. Any of these things we're coming up with, if we have the will and the cooperation to do things, we can get things done. But we got to go one at a time. We got to prioritize what's most important for the next thing. We can't do it all at once. We got to take on one big job at a time. Thanks.
Vicki?
I think you have to ask yourself, how much are you going to be willing to pay for the things that we really need? You know, we talk about an $18 or $19 million surplus amount of money, but we owe money. We've got money committed. Our employees haven't had a raise in years, and then some of them make less than a McDonald's or, kid employee. No reflection on them. But we do need to have some money to do some of these things with. So those are things that, I think we would welcome ideas from anyone to tell us your thoughts on that. We need your input. It's your government. I mean, we're working for you. It's not all on us, it's on all of us, not just us. You're in this too.
I have particular interest in this because I was actually hired in 2013 when I had a little consulting gig to do a study on whether or not it's feasible for a short line railroad to invest in Terre Haute. It was in the 13th and Hallman area. And that's about all I can share with you. And I was doing that based on a couple employers here that brought stuff in. They had a hard time getting the rail cars at the factories. And the company decided not to do it for various reasons, one of them being the public sentiment that there's too many trains in Terre Haute. In 2012, the county commissioners put together or helped fund a study, a rail study. And you can find it online if you Google Terre Haute rail study. And I'm trying to find the exact number, so anecdotally, back in 2011, about 87 trains ran through Terre Haute a day. They're predicting by 2031, over 200 a day. So is that right, Jeff? Chief Fisher was part of that, I think. So here's my point. We paid for this study in 2012. What have we done with that information? It's online.
Yeah.
This is a good issue for me to talk about. I left Terre Haute in 2005. We were running 18,000-ton coal trains at 40 mile an hour. Right at 7,000 foot long. I went to Elkhart, Indiana. We started jumping on trains 10,000 foot long to 12,000 foot long between Elkhart and Windsor, Ontario. I saw when I was the state chairman, and we were working with everyone to find out how long the trains were going to be, and somebody out in Texas ran a 25,000 foot coal train, to our intermodal train to Long Beach, California. People forget that this is an economy that's interstate transportation of goods. You have got to have that. If you understand what's going to happen with the trains, and they're long trains, so they're going to block people, there's nothing wrong with building an underpass and building an overpass. But we have to find the area we want to do that in and realize it has to happen because it's for the safety of everybody in this community. We can't have ambulances on one side and hospitals on the other.
I'm going to lose some votes here. Embrace the trains and embrace the crows. But I wanted to point to my Facebook page. I posted about the NDOT monies yesterday on my Facebook page. My Facebook page is not just about my 6-month-old son. It's about tons of community events that are going on, and opportunities for Terre Haute to take a part of. So I put these things on my Facebook page for y'all and for our local officials to be like, whoa, we need to pay attention to this. So it's $125 million available for local communities, and agencies can start applying in May, and the application will stay open until August 31st. And our district, which is Crawfordsville, are having a meeting April 11th at 1 p.m. at their office up in Crawfordsville. So these are the kind of things that our local officials need to be on top of. They need to actually know before the press release comes out. We need to stop having just relationships here in Terre Haute and have better relationships with officials in Crawfordsville and Indianapolis and other places in the Midwest, and start taking the best ideas and the best relationships to improve our community.
All right, we'll take the next question. I think everybody's answered that one. We'll take the next question. What are your plans, or what ideas do you have about how we can revitalize blighted neighborhoods? That came up briefly as one of the problems in our community. Do you have any specific ideas for what we might do to revitalize the blighted neighborhoods? And there are a number of them in our community. We'll start with you, Bill.
Thank you. Blighted neighborhoods, of course, go back to our image issues that we have. I think one way, it costs money to go in and clean up these neighborhoods. I mean, we're all aware of that. The amount of property tax cap lost at this county as a whole, all the taxing units, the city, this library, the schools, lost in 17 was $30 million. Projected this year is $31 million. I think the key to being able to clean up some of these neighborhoods is going to be able to increase our assessed values on some of these commercial properties, so that a lot of these tax dollars are not leaving our county, headed to Nashville or to Florida. They're staying here with us so we can reinvest in ourselves. So I think that is one way that we can get that project started.
Michael.
This is something I've become aware of since I started canvassing back in February. I've been all over the Harrison Township, knocking on doors, talking to people. And I wasn't exaggerating. I mean, we need to do an inventory, but it seems like about 1 out of the 8 or 9 homes there's nobody living there. Of course, you have to know what the story is. Some of them are dilapidated and need to be condemned. Some are condemned. Some are burnt out husk. Some have been empty for years because they're in probate. Each house has a story. So what am I getting to? There's 2 things going on here. One is short term. The city and the county are not enforcing the code. I've been down and talked to both the code people. Of course, the county says they don't enforce the code in the city. The city guy says they're a complaint-driven department. So then you got to wonder why we're not hiring more people to at least enforce the code on the people that own property, in particular people that are renting their properties to others. It's a safety issue for the people that are exploiting to live there. They're usually absentee landlords. They don't live in the community. They're just profiting off of us. And once the properties run down enough, they walk away because it's, aren't it? 1,000 homes in 1,000 days. Mayor Buttigieg. Google it.
I think you hear people saying here, you know, we need more enforcement officers, we need more people we can't hire anybody. We don't have money to hire people. I mean, I hate to keep whore-mouthing, we got no money. I want to get a webmaster to put a website up for the county that's worth a damn, and I cannot get the money to hire a webmaster. I mean, everybody wants transparency, but we can't find the dough. So I'm thinking of having Tupperware parties. I mean, it's a serious thing. We've really got to figure out. We've got to fight the bullet, and we've got to get some money. The city needs money, the county needs money. And a lot of these things, you know, like abandoned houses, why don't we, if they go on the tax rolls, let's put up a lottery and let people take them if they want them. If they rehab them in a year, they own it. Then they pay taxes. Just a thought.
So I'm really proud of something that we have done. The Sheridan Park neighborhood. Do you guys recall how it was before they went in and invested, was it $3, $4, $5 million in that? Unreal. It's such a nice neighborhood that my wife and I were actually looking at buying a place out there not too long ago. I thought, you know what, a great investment would be to buy a couple lots across from Sheridan Park. This is near North High School. And it kind of touches on the old Hungarian neighborhood, a lot of us think of it as. They invested in the infrastructure. They put new curbs and sewers in there. It's wonderful. There are opportunities for us. Every community, every wealthy community has blighted areas. There is federal funding available for programs like this. The thing is, we have to go out and find that money, and we have to pursue it. We have to, as public officials, take the time to get the grants to reinvest in our community.
Yes.
Thanks, Joe.
Bill?
I don't feel good, Bill. It's what's in my house.
Good luck.
That's seafood.
Most of us with gray hair are in that same thing.
I die
You know.
lying.
Blighted neighborhoods. Blighted neighborhoods are caused by what? People out of work. Education levels are low. The issue was brought up about rental properties. That's really an interesting fact. Rental properties. Who do we know is renting properties? Do we go out there and make sure that the person renting the property takes care of the property? Because once you have people go down in value, the whole community goes down. We have, he said $30 million less in property taxes. That's a big deal. I understand that. But we also have, which was brought to everybody's light recently, the issue of the certain property taxes from what I pay out in Riley and what they pay at 3rd and Walnut Street is different. Why is that? Why is the property tax at 3rd and Walnut half of what I pay out in Riley for a subdivision lot on the lake? What? I mean, it's in the heart of the city. We need to do a better job of revenue enhancement for this community. And when we do that, we can raise the value of houses and what we're doing. Thank you for letting me carry on. Thanks.
Jane?
Okay, so we've heard when you're involved with trying to take care of some of these blighted neighborhoods, like the officials will say, it's too much liability, it's too much liability. And how come all these other mayors around Indiana are being able to do the same thing? And they're not waiting for state dollars to come in to start demolishing some of these dilapidated properties. I'm not talking about the historical homes, you know, and when we do, unfortunately, to take down a historical home, let's take everything valuable out of it so it can be reused in someone else's home. We do need more grant writers in Vigo County and Terre Haute. There are so many grants. We have 30 seconds. Slumlords, geez, we've got to start cracking down on our slumlords. We got to get rid of these excuses that, you know, we can't do too much liability, too much liability. If South Bend can do it, we can do it, and we can do it better.
I think the main issue is we have laws on the books, and we have ordinances in this county. I think they need to be used, taken advantage of, and make these homeowners, landowners accountable for their actions. That's the main thing right there. We have the laws on the books, but if they don't enforce it, you see what we've got. All of us have seen it.
Okay, I think we're ready for the next question now. We'll start with Michael. This is a little bit different, and it's somewhat theoretical, but it's also practical. Several of you have emphasized the importance of city and county working together to solve issues. With this in mind, what is your opinion of Unigov? Could you see this as a system working here? Why or why not?
My understanding of Unigov is only the portion of, it has to do with code enforcement, basically enough. And from my understanding was Terre Haute, Vigo County made a run at that a few years back, and for whatever reason it didn't come to be. I think it's a good idea, but like I said, I can only speak about code enforcement, and the code is pretty much the same throughout the county. There's a lot of redundancy, and then there's a lot of scapegoating the other entity that provides the code enforcement for the problem. I think it's something that needs to be looked at and investigated. I know a lot of other communities have done it, and they've had great success. And I believe we can do that here also.
Unigov, you know, our image of Unigov, I think, is Indianapolis. You know, they all folded in, every community in Marion County became part of Indianapolis. Then they maintained their own entity as the town of Lawrence and Speedway and so on and so on. I'm not familiar with what the cost of it was, but I did work in Indianapolis when Richard Lugar was the mayor, and they planned Unigov. And it was a wonderful concept because Indy was not flourishing at all, and it turned it around. However, the people, the voters, are the ones who decide if there is Unigov. And maybe that's a hard program to sell around here, because every time you talk about it, they slam the door on your fingers. So it takes some work, but it could work.
Unigov has always intrigued me. I think it was started in Indianapolis in 1982, and my understanding is it's still a work in process. Do I think we could be a Unigov county? Absolutely not. But what I think we can do is look at where efficiencies can be made. The IT department, for example. Why do we, if you were to see how many different IT departments we have within the county alone, it's asinine. If we could merge the city with the county and get one unified system, absolutely. We don't have a purchasing director. A department wanted to buy a DR mower, and I said, where'd you get information? He gave me an ad from Popular Science. We need to get somebody to be able to control this, and that'll help us. I work with Councilman Nasser all the time. We're talking about ways for efficiencies. I have those outlined on my website. My stops get ready to come up. But yeah, I think that we need to be creative and see what we can do. Call it Unigov? No. Call it Brendan Gov. That'd be good. But something needs to be done where we can look at the efficiencies and make things better for our county to save us money, this money that we're hearing tonight that we simply do not have.
I was in Indianapolis lobbying at the State House when they passed Unigov, and I'm going to tell you, it was a lot of work. I don't know what it costs. I don't know what it saves. I can't stand here and talk about it, but I can tell you about working together in the city of Terre Haute with the county. I have asked. I've been down and looked at the jail. I asked people. I asked Chief Lashley. I said, why don't we put the police station on the same campus with the jail? And in the future, when the juvenile center gets bad, we can put it on the same campus with the jail. Why can't we go down and in the jail, put a room that's 1/3 the size of this and put a door in and a door out and run your probable cause people through that? You have everybody in the same space. It saves us money and it makes it more efficient, and you cut down on transportation costs. This is what we need to do. We need to be stopped.
All right, well, I think this goes back to, Bill kept saying over and over, we have to start working together, we have to start collaborating. What is each department doing in the city and the county, and where are the overlapping services? Just with the holiday recycling alone, there were 2 departments in the county annex that were doing it and not talking to each other. This is not even including what's going on, the same building, the same hallway. Why are we not talking to each other? So just on a basic administrative level, what is everybody doing? How can we work together, even if we hate each other, just to do it for everybody else?
You got 30 seconds.
Well, I can talk about life. You want to talk about life?
I think Piote County, several years back, I've been on the council, and we did start and combine some services, weights and measures, where they go out and they make sure you get a gallon of gas, you're getting a gallon of gas for the price. Or when you go to the grocery store, Kroger, if you're getting a pound of bologna, you're getting a pound of bologna. We combine that, and now instead of a city guy and a county guy, we have one individual that does it for the whole county. We also combined dispatch. We used to have Terre City Police Dispatch and Fire Department at City Hall, and we had the Sheriff's Department dispatch at the Sheriff's Department, which basically you could throw a rock from one dispatch room to the other, which was the biggest waste of money. So we combined that. There's been conversation in the past about maybe combining the Parks Department, the Highway Department. Just in Vigo County, in the county, not the city, there's over 800 miles of road. So there's a lot of road out there. I gotta go. But anyway, there has been efforts involved in doing this, and it's not an easy process.
Taking up there where Councilman Curley had touched, we as a county have implemented weights and measures, which seems to be working well. Dispatch, I think, works well. I think in certain instances, we can do this as far as in this entirety. I don't know if that would really work. I know that the sheriff and the city police have a large area to cover. Could there be one central chief? I probably could. I know Terrell City Fire, we have all the fire districts out there that work hand in hand. They're not all employees of the city, wouldn't be classified as UNIGOV, but I think in a lot of instances we're already pulling together and doing things together. But I don't know if it would work if we went to it in its entirety or not. I think you still need your county commissioners and your mayor. We just need to get them to get along and to communicate. I think that's what we need.
All right, ready for the next question? And this will be 1 minute, Robbie. Do you have a plan or any concrete actions in mind to bring transparency into the county council and/or county commissioners' deliberations and workings? A plan or concrete actions to bring transparency. Vicki, we'll start with you.
I'll do it.
Oh, you started last time, okay.
No, Mike started.
Mike started, yeah.
I know mine was better than his. I don't have a concrete plan for transparency. My one first big step is to get a website up so that you folks don't have to, if you can't make it to a meeting, you'll be able to know what happened in the meetings. And I think it's just imperative to have that so that you know all of the commissioners' actions that happened at their meeting every Tuesday in the council, and so on and so forth. It's hard to keep. Are you talking just about the commissioners and the council?
Commissioners and the council, that's the
Okay.
transparency they're asking,
Yeah.
since they're candidates for those offices.
So I think we should develop that plan. I think the best way to go about it is with the webmaster. If anybody here is on the council and wants to appropriate money.
So I'd say that I've proven that I'm transparent. I started off by having a lot of public forums, and many of you attended those. I regularly post information that's never been seen before on social media. I'm there for you, and I'm going to continue to be that way. My cell phone number is so out there that before I came here, a young lady was yelling at me why she's been stopped at Poplar Street by a train. And I was tired of hearing this, but this did happen before I came here, so I didn't know who to call. So I passed it off to Karen Nasser. The website thing has been brought up. I tried doing this. I launched the council Facebook page. I thought I had the support of the council meeting, all the other council members, and I love you guys, but you voted it down. So I set up a live feed, and somebody said, why are you doing that? They didn't want it to be broadcast live. So yeah, I mean, transparency, we work for you guys. As much as I hate saying that, hearing it, but that's why we're here. We are here for you. We're just up there. Yeah, we'll be transparent. Oh, and I want to have county commissioner meetings in the evening instead of Tuesdays at 9 a.m.
Since I've been running for this office, I've attended as many commissioner meetings since February as I could, and all those meetings are recorded, and all the minutes are put out to the public. All you have to do is the county commissioner's webpage and read them. When I was working with the federal government and rail safety advisory committees, all those meetings were recorded. They were all transparent. You could go to those and see what somebody said and why they said it, and whether or not you understood where you can ask questions and give that person a call. All of our cell phones are out there. It's on my candidacy when I filed to run for this office. Do one thing. Transparency is a lot more than this side. It's both sides. You have to want to go find it as much as you want this person up here to give it to you. If I think I'm giving it to you and you can't find it, that doesn't make the people in charge not doing their job. Just saying.
Brendan, you do have 3,000 more friends than me on Facebook, I just checked.
I'm
So
actually
you are
5.
you're that much more transparent than I
I
am.
have 1,000 followers.
Yes, you do, 998, I think. So social media, number one. When people ask questions in front of the council, and when you're like, whatever happened to that, how about there's some kind of queue, not a Google Doc sheet, but like a Google Doc sheet to see where does the answer to that question stand? Live streaming the meetings, so people at home, mothers like myself, or fathers at home, they can watch the meetings while they're home. Can we get the meetings published the same way the city council meetings are? Blah, 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 blah. Totally transparent. My name, my phone number, everything's out there.
Well, the main thing is, I've been on the county council for many years. And the county council and the county commissioners have to work together to make the wheel turn. Because the commissioners can sign contracts all day with companies that build this, build that, but if they don't have the backing and the funding of the county council, the fiscal body of government, that contract goes in the shredder. So I'm constantly on the phone, Councilman Thomas, Councilman Wager, and the other council member, as well as all the county commissioners that are in my cell phone. We have to work together. Do we disagree? Absolutely. But we have to be transparent for the betterment of you guys, the taxpayer.
I couldn't agree more. Transparency is of the utmost importance. And I believe if you look back at, and I'm talking for the council's position, not the commissioner's position, but we have our meetings of an evening, 5, 6 o'clock, it's now 6 o'clock now, to make it open to the public, to make sure the public can attend. It would be hard to, if you're a working man or woman, to get off work to go to a meeting at 9 o'clock, I understand that. At 17, I made sure that our council administrator was posting everything that we could possibly post pertaining to the jail, to feed you folks as much information and as close to real time as possible. So anything that we can do to make it more transparent. We do have something called the open door law, and full disclosure on the Facebook deal, yes, Councilman Kearns brought that up, but there was some controversy with our council about maybe a disclaimer needed to be at the front or whatever, and if those get worked out, I would have no problem with that.
Transparency also has a lot to do with communication. I was a union leader, back rep, I was a union steward down at the airport. And a lot of times, I only had 20 people that work with me. They come up and go, what's going on? How come you don't tell me? How come I don't know what's going on with you and the manager? How come they made these changes down in the radar? How come the shades in the tower aren't replaced yet? And in my mind, I wasn't keeping a secret. I was working with management. I was telling the 2 or 3 guys that worked on the same shift as me, but I didn't go the extra mile because a lot of times you got to bring the information to the community. You can't just sit there and say, I couldn't sit there and say, well, if you come ask me, you can find out. So I had to start a Facebook page for the tower. I had to send out emails to everybody. I had to put it up on the bulletin board. And I had to make an effort to go find people and talk to them about it. So it's like you said, it's a two-way street, but concrete, tape it, play it live, put it in the bin, have a Facebook page, hire somebody that can actually make a centralized website that's navigable, intuitive. It's easy.
All right, we have one quick one here. This is a very short question, and it'll be just a minute probably. And we begin again with you, Brendan. It'll be your turn to go off and get this up first. And this is, what can we do to control serious dog issues? Dog control, in other words, animal control.
Well, I think the serious dogs are ones that we need to be paying attention to. I actually bought a puppy last night, a little Boston Terrier, and while I'm enjoying being here with you, I really want to go home and play with my new puppy. Yeah, I mean, there's a dog issue here. The county council has, or we provide funding for the Humane Society. I visit there frequently, as a lot of you do too. If we can invest more with the Humane Society, sure. If we can support spay and neuter services with government funds, why not? I just don't know if that's possible, so sure. I mean, we do have a dog issue. We have a people issue too. Dogs aren't the ones that are throwing out trash along Harlem Road that people are cleaning up. So yeah, it's all about the serious dogs.
Animal control has always been, as far as I remember, and I don't remember seeing one in the last several years, was the sheriff's department had an animal control officer that come out and picked up dogs. Is that still true? Does anybody know?
As far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, so if we have a department, then we need to get out and tell somebody that, hey, this is what you need to do when you see a dog that's running around your neighborhood. In Riley, we have a web page, and everybody, it's broadcast to everybody in that community that there's a dog loose. Does anybody know whose dog this is? And I mean, I understand that we can't do that in other areas, but still, we need to let somebody know when there's dogs out there. We sure as heck don't need packs of dogs, and we all know that's a possibility. We have dogs, we've had a lot of dogs, and we got one. And the point is, I love dogs, but there's problems, and we need to take care of the problems any way we can.
I'm a cat person, next.
Seriously?
When I first moved to this community, I was given some advice to start volunteering, to start really getting involved in the community. I'm not so sure if I fit in still, but the first place I volunteered was the Humane Society. So I really got to see firsthand a lot of the issues that our community has, and it goes far beyond the dogs and the kittens and cats. But if I won $1 million or millions of dollars, one of the first things I always said that I would do is I would put a lot of money towards spaying and neutering and education, because that gets at the root cause, which is a lot of the systemic problems, which are going back out of jail. We have to start dealing with the systemic problems, which starts with spaying and neutering and education.
You stole my words. It's all about education, public and pet owners, to take care of the pets, spay and neuter. And when that doesn't happen, we need to have the right authority to go in and take care of the problem, because it is an issue. As a cop for 24 years, we're seeing what do see pull up on a little kid that's been mauled by a vicious dog, and you have to put him down. So it's something that is a very serious issue that we need to look at.
The pet control is something I think that touches all of us. I do know that just a couple of years ago, I believe it was in 2016, the county council appropriated through the commissioners $50,000 gift to the humane shelter. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. I live out in the country. I'm the proud owner of 3 dogs, 1 cat, and they've all been dropped off. So I do what I can. Until the day, and a real quick story, this is the truth. I thought I had 3 male dogs and 1 female cat, but we took her to the vet, and she was a male cat that had been neutered, and her name, instead of Asha, is now Ash. That happened today. A lot of shock.
We're all getting a good laugh at it, but I think Curly hit on it. You got education. People need to realize that when your pets, whether it's cats and dogs, it deteriorates the neighborhood. It deteriorates your quality of place that people talk about. So I've actually thought long and hard about this. Enforcement, then you have enforcement, which is not going on. And once again, you go talk to the animal control people for the city and the county, and they say it's a complaint-driven department. That means that the county and the city need to look at that, so it's not a complaint-driven department. Anyway, my idea was to advertise in the papers and throughout the community that we're going to start enforcing our leash laws, and what the fines are up there. Make sure that people are made aware of what their responsibilities are, and there's good reasons for it. And then start rounding them up, and people have to pay $50 to come pick their pet up. It'll be over in a month.
Seems like a popular idea. know, I hate to hear county and city employees get bashed. They don't do, they're not doing, it's not, they won't, they can't. Truthfully, city and county employees work pretty darn hard. Police work hard, fire guys work hard. And they don't have big staffs of people. You know, we're not overstaffed any place that I'm aware. If you go through the annex, you'll see people working, running up and down the halls trying to get their work done so they can go home at a reasonable hour. I do commend the animal control people. That's a really hard job. And when we do pick up animals, a lot of people don't claim them. They really don't take care of them. They don't feed them, they don't keep them on a leash, and they don't even know where they're gone. So it's kind of a sad thing, and we got to educate people. Good luck on that.
Okay, we will now go to closing statements, and we'll give a minute to each candidate to give a closing statement on any comments that they would like to make. And then after that time, if they would want to be available to meet with independent people in the audience, want to come up and ask questions. But we will have the closing statements, and we'll begin with Bill Curley. You will start, you will be the first one, and then go all the way around. Brendan, you will be last.
Bill Curley. My brother's Bill, I'm Tim. I do have a brother named Bill.
We like it better.
Bill.
Bill, just
You know, I was being quiet. Okay. Thank you. You know, a friend of mine talk all the time. We talk about what we can do for Terre Haute. We're trying to invite here we are out trying to work on the part of the Ray Park revitalization. There's 80 acres out there that need to be done. Something needs to be done. We need to work with people. The health of our communities is not very good. I told you that earlier, 90 out of 92 counties. We are stagnant. It takes us 10 years to build a gym. We're stagnant. We are not building anything. We are not moving forward. We need a vision, and we need to continue and start living in this community rather than being stagnant. And with this, I say, everything I've done in my life, I've worked towards working with people and building something, rebuilding freight locomotives and passenger locomotives so that they're survivable. Think about that. We had tons of wreck. You look at that wreck down in South Carolina, you'll see that the top of the CSX locomotives are all boogered up. I was very happy with those guys. There weren't anybody people would have survived. Working with people is the only way you get things done.
Jenny.
All right, if you live in District 1, on the county, this blue area right here, not to be confused with the green area, I would appreciate your vote. A vote for me is a vote for you to have a seat at the table.
No, I just want to say, since I've been on the county council, I've been on the county council for 5 terms, 20 years, okay? And I think the big part of that is because when I would have constituents call me, they would need a culvert because if their farmland was not draining properly or it was crushed. I'd be out there the same day. And within 2 weeks, they'd have a new culvert in because that's what they needed. And that was the responsibility of the commissioners and the council. And I've done that all the time. And what counts is the last one, because my phone number got moved out to all of these people because they said, Curly, you can get something done in 2 weeks where we've been fighting with the commissioners for 2 years. So, and he says, I'm Republican, but anytime you want, you put a Curly Democrat sign in your yard. So I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, just do the right thing. That's what I've done. I don't do what's politically correct, I do what's right.
Bill.
Again, thank you all for showing up this evening. Over the past 7 years I've been on the council, this council has, I think, really done a good job in being transparent, and being accountable, and being fiscally responsible. We made some tough decisions back when the property tax caps were coming into play. That's why we're sitting here today with some extra money in our operating balance in the general fund. However, we're still funding budgets that are $2 and $3 million short of revenue. And it's not because we aren't cutting everything that we can possibly cut. So I just want you to know that I will continue to do a job for you, and I'm looking forward to being your councilman for the next 4 years. Thank you very much.
Michael?
I'd like to thank the League for Women Voters, Betty, and everybody for showing up. My experience as an air traffic controller, make decisions every day, all day, one after the other. And what I learned is plan B is not good enough. You gotta have a plan C and a plan D. So you put your best plan forward, but you always are able to adjust later. And then later as a union representative and a union leader, I had to work with people from all aspects of the aviation industry. And a lot of times we didn't see eye to eye, but we would find common ground, we would find solutions. As a FAC rep, as a union president of my local, I learned how to prioritize our budgets. That's what I'm running for, to prioritize our budgets. I think I'll make and I had a benefit, I got all the time in the world, I'm retired.
I didn't just work at WTHI. In 1998, I went to Chicago to work for NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. I worked all over the country, putting up live shots. I was what we call a field producer. I worked with a correspondent. Then I moved with my husband to Germany. We lived in Frankfurt. Then we moved to Paris. We went to Moscow. And I worked for Nightly News and Dateline. I worked all over Europe. I worked in South Africa. I did a story about Nelson Mandela. I did a story about Lech Walesa. Came back here, did the Unabomber trial for 3 months, or Unabomber arrest. I was first crew in on that one. O.J. Simpson for a year, and McVeigh. So I know how to find out things. I know how to be truthful, and I don't do fake news. And I think my experience as an investigative journalist serves me well to serve you. I hope you'll vote for the person who serves, who represents the city of Terre Haute. That's me.
Brandon?
In around 2011, the Kernan Shepherd study recommended the elimination of county commissioners. And personally, I'm okay with that. They transfer the power over to the council. If I am elected county commissioner, one of the first things I'll do is get the correctional inmates out to clean up the roads like they used to. I'll work hard to get a homeless coordinator, a point person to manage all the homeless services that we have in Vigo County. I will work to restore funding for Riverscape. I still can't get over that one. I'll make sure that commissioners' meetings are the Tuesday before and the Tuesday after council meetings in the evening. I currently have my dream job. I'm risking losing it to be your county commissioner. I like to think that I have a bright future. I like to think that Vigo County has a bright future. I personally want to be part of that future, and I'm asking for your support as Vigo County Commissioner. Thank you for being here tonight.
I thank all of the candidates. And at this time, we will conclude the regular meeting. But if you would like to stay and talk individually, I'm sure the candidates will be here for a few minutes. I'll remind you, the library does close at 9 o'clock.